some sort of like lifestyle benefit or something like that. They're in a relationship because they actually value the connection. And I would say that's not always the case for men.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Who do you think should pay on the first date?
Men.
Well, right, that's a bit transactional, don't you think?
No, because it's not about the transaction of just them paying. It's about that. First of all, I believe that men should pursue women. I think that men should take the leadership in relationships, and even on the first date. I don't think that it's about, oh, he should pay for my meal and I'm going to go on the date with this guy and get a free meal out of it, which a lot of people are saying as a joke or serious. I think that it's a sign that that guy is willing to invest in you, if not only in time, but also in his money when he pays for your first date.
Well, you just said invest his time and his money. So isn't that to some degree a transactional?
It's not that it's a transaction. It's a show that he's willing to sacrifice in the future for your family or to take care of you your.
Why shouldn't women be doing that?
Women do it, but in different ways. So for example, if a woman becomes a wife, she might sacrifice her career to take care of her family and to have a baby. And women sacrifice in a different way than men sacrifice.
Yeah, but it's not a given when you first meet somebody that you know for certain if this person is going to be the person you spend the rest of your life with. So, I mean,
it's part of the pursuit.
So you're saying like 2 years down the road, that's potentially when a woman brings her end of the deal?
I think it's part of, I don't think it's about bringing her end of the deal. It's part of the pursuit. I think women are meant to be pursued. Unfortunately, in the world we live in today, women have taken on masculine traits because they feel like they've confused the idea of having equal rights as being the same as men. So we have it backwards, where now we have a lot of women who think they need to pursue, and also with this idea of like this like scarcity idea that all women are going for the top 10, 20% of men. It's like there's this notion in women's minds that there's like a scarcity of good men. Well, I would argue that there's maybe a scarcity of good women also. And that has to do with, first of all, women taking on masculine traits, like pursuing the other person, but it also has to do with us creating an environment that breeds weak men that don't want to take leadership.
Also, like, some men, I feel like to do that. Like, I feel like men like to express themselves through doing stuff for people and taking care of you, so that can feel good to some men as well.
I like it when a woman simps. Acts of service. Start simping.
I gotta say, one of the functions of like a high testosterone, giga chad, high value male is that you need to be willing to take risks. And one of these risks, you need to make a calculated risk, but one of those risks is, okay, I'm going to pay for the first date because this woman might 3 years from now, like, give me her womb and bear my children. And that's a sacrifice that she's making for me, but I need to be willing to take a calculated risk today because that might be what happens as a result. Is that not fair to say?
I know what you're saying.
Part of the pursuit, though, also is like showing the woman that you want to invest in her and take care of her. It's like, it's not just about like what might happen in the future. It's part of the game, so to speak, like the cat and mouse pursuit.
Yeah, it's like a balance of like masculine and feminine energies. It's not like so specific like a chart.
Yeah, I got to say, like, this is the only thing I disagreed with you on, is your hesitance to use the word transactional. I don't think it's a bad word. Like, I've got a stay-at-home wife. We have a very aggressively traditional relationship. We are both very...
Sorry, hold on.
Sentience donated $100.
Hey, thank you, man.
Dating is downstream from female hedonism since they perpetuate culture/access to sex. Weak men bend to those whims excreting adulation, while men, pursuing self-mastery, withdraw their attention. These women are not worth it. Buyer beware.
Who allowed women to become hedonistic purveyors of over-sexualized content? Who allowed women to do that? Men did.
Well, I mean, women have autonomy and agency, so I mean... You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this.
But the culture
I think the downfall of women is a direct result of the downfall of men. It's men becoming weak. It's men becoming lazy and lethargic and addicted and overweight and porn addicted. And I think men are down bad, and as a result, women have...
Hold on.
Their Almed Meatball donated $100.
Hey, thank you, man.
You shouldn't sacrifice for a relationship. You should do things because the relationship you build brings value and joy to your life. Sacrifice implies you're doing something against yourself for someone else.
100% true. I think actually it is beautiful and noble as a husband to live sacrificially for your wife, and for your wife, inversely, to live sacrificially for you.
Yeah.
In the same way you're doing for your children. As a father, as a mother, your job is to live self-sacrificially for your children, for the betterment of your family, of your bloodline, of your wife, or if you're the wife for your husband. There's nothing wrong with being self-sacrificial as long as it's a beautiful, symbiotic, reciprocal type of sacrifice.
Okay.
If you're not inconveniencing yourself ever for your loved ones, then how can you expect to have a healthy relationship? You're not going to. It's not going to happen. You need to get over this. It's all about me. It's all about me.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to make a compromise for your wife or for your children or whatever, then it's not going to work for you.
I know you maybe wanted to comment on something, and Zentience, we will come back and address your point. Go ahead.
I forgot what I was talking about. I think I already said it.
She's a stand-up comedian, folks.
But if it comes back to me, I'll let you know.
Let us know. Give us a little wink or something, and I'll try to weave you in.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, Zentience was saying that current dating is downstream from female hedonism since they perpetuate culture such access to sex. Now, you're taking the super trad stance on it, which is, well, men bear kind of ultimate responsibility because we as men ought to be and should be leaders, and we are failing in our duty to be leaders.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back through human history, at any time that you would consider traditional or based or whatever, the men have been the ones that are sort of foundationally building society. That seems to be the case, right? And so if men are traditionally the builders of society, if you have a traditional lens, if you're looking at relationships through that lens, if women are becoming OnlyFans models at age 18 or, whatever, we're kind of in a weird societal spot.
I don't think men are entirely off the hook.
Yeah.
I think the blame falls on both men and women.
Most certainly falls on both.
Well, I think
but
that
who
But I think right now we've got an epidemic of weak men. Very, very weak, addicted, overweight, lazy men.
Before I let you come in, does anyone on this side of the table want to weigh in? I'd like to try to pull you into the conversation.
Why can't women be the breadwinners? Like, why can't I be the provider for the household? And like, what if my husband wants to take care of the kids?
I feel
I
like
will
that.
so be a stay-at-home dad for you.
Right?
I got you.
I think that's becoming more common.
I'll take care of the kids.
Though.
What I'm saying is,
And
like,
I
why
feel like
can't-
men are now expecting women to be the breadwinners.
Yeah.
Men are more willing to rely on the girls for money now.
Zentians
Hold on just a
donated
sec, guys.
$99. Allowed to be hedonistic. They are strong, independent women now. Equal treatment, unless they have proved they are worthy of your traditional role through their actions. Women can't be objectified unless they objectify themselves. I agree about weak men.
I mean, I think it's
Women can be objectified without objectifying themselves. Absolutely.
I don't think there's been a time in human history where you've had more young men, this is a younger generation thing, more young men objectifying women, and this is a result of pornographic content, OnlyFans, Instagram, things like that. You've never had a time where there are more young men objectifying women and more young women commodifying men, viewing them as nothing more than a paycheck or money or some sort of resource.
Absolutely.
And so this relationship dynamic is super, super toxic to how people should and have always functioned. It's like, okay, we're going to date, I'm going to vet my spouse, we're going to get married, we're going to have kids. That's not happening. There's so many roadblocks in the way.
Yeah, it's also not just about providing for your family. I think that the traditional role of a man has more to do than just bringing home the bread or the money or whatever it is. There are other aspects in a husband that make him a provider and a leader and a protector. Like, for example, what would you say makes a good husband outside of just monetarily providing for the family?
I would say the path of a traditional man is that path towards becoming the best husband, father, protector, provider you possibly can. That's an all-encompassing.
With the idea that you would die for your family, that you would protect them, that absolutely
if
you
need
would
be,
come
so be it.
between anything that threatens your family.
Yeah, and then inversely, the path and the role of a traditional woman is that path towards being the best nurturer, caregiver, wife, and mother you possibly can be, and living sacrificially
Doc
to those ends.
Venabilly's donated $100. Caffeine Gum Gentleman, I disagree with you. Women are the guardians of virtue and wisdom. They civilize men. Perhaps fathers have failed their daughters? I might buy that element of the situation.
Yo, Doc Van Atlas, thank you for the TTS, man. Much appreciated. There's a lot of chatter on this. I just want to keep tabs on everything. Fathers have failed. Perhaps fathers. I don't know if it's fathers. I mean, it's
think-
women who are divorcing the men. So I mean,
Some
There-
people are raised without fathers, even. So.
There are most certainly, I think probably if I could snap my fingers and fix one problem in our society, and that we have a lot of problems in our society, probably the biggest problem is the complete collapse or degradation of the traditional family unit. Right now you've got it's like 25% of kids don't have a dad in their house. That's kids right now. Kids that are being born right now, like if you're born today, there's like a 65% chance your parents aren't even married. That's if you're being born right now. The traditional family unit,
oh wow.
Sentience.
Donated $100.
Thank you, man.
No, you bobblehead. Women must objectify themselves first before any man can. I would say take accountability, but I doubt you would understand, let alone spell the word. It's called morals. Try and learn some before you start objectifying yourself.
Just one thought on what Zentience just said when it comes to objectification. Was it objectify? There's been a lot of talk from feminists, and there's a criticism of men, how they have a tendency to objectify women, and there's this sexualization and objectification. However, we saw 2-3 years ago with the mass spread of OnlyFans, women kind of do that shit to themselves. Like they objectify themselves. There's this talk of, men, they view women as objects, but here, you can see my naked body for $4.99 a month.
Can I add something?
Go ahead.
I think in terms of OnlyFans, those are women consenting to those pictures being released. And I don't have an OnlyFans, and I don't know many people who do. So, of course, my perspective is limited in that regard, but I do think that's a more consensual manner. I think it becomes a problem when it's and it can go both ways, people, I guess, objectifying men on TikTok and men objectifying women in the gym or something. It's just a widespread problem, but I think it has more to do with I don't know where I'm going with that.
Okay. I mean, even going beyond OnlyFans. I mean, if you look at a girl who doesn't do any sort of adult content, but you can look at a lot of women's Instagrams, for example, they're taking to some degree semi-provocative or fairly provocative photos, bending over, fucking camera looking straight up the hoo-ha in a bikini, and when I say objectification, it's you are putting that out there on your own with your own agency.
I think that some women might think I'm being objectified anyway, so I might as well capitalize on it as well.
But is it objectification for a man to find a woman physically attractive?
Here's what I'll say. I think probably the most valuable virtue that a man can have is discipline. If we had men in this society disciplined, there would be no more porn. There would be no more OnlyFans. Who would be jerking off to it? No one would, right?
Is porn a bad thing?
Very bad. Absolutely bad. Terrible.
Shots fired.
Super bad.